Hello and welcome to episode 109 of Nintendo Therapy, a show about the latest Nintendo news and rumors, as well as a celebration of all of the things Nintendo. My name is Kevin, and joining me for some Nintendo Therapy this week is Sean
Every day is Halloween.
and Harrison.
And if you're audio only, Sean has, I believe, 2 Halloween posters in the background. It must be his favorite movie. Is Halloween. Is that your favorite horror movie? No,
It's not my favorite horror movie. I just have a bunch of stuff.
you just have a lot of stuff. Sean, do you have a favorite Campbell movie?
It's a tie between Army of Darkness and Bubba Hotep.
Bubba Hotep is
Spider-Man 1.
really
go.
good. Yeah.
Um,
Anyways, but it's not
anyway.
it's not a horror movie Bruce Campbell podcast. What's up, listeners?
Correct.
Nintendo Therapy. If you're watching on video, scan that QR code down below. That gives us all of your links. And Kevin, back to you.
Let's launch into what I wanted to talk the most about this week is something that I don't see any of the Nintendo news websites reporting on, which I thought was weird, but I saw this on a couple of YouTube videos, and there's a new Metroid rumor going around. So Twitter user Nash Weedle, who you always, whenever you talk about these leakers, you have to talk about what they accurately predicted in the past, and they probably go through and delete their wrong predictions, but whatever. They accurately predicted that new Mario and Luigi game was going to come right before they announced Brothership. They apparently predicted Metroid Dread was going to be in a direct right before it was, and a few other things. But he had this tweet, and I'm summarizing here, where he talked about that obviously we know Metroid Prime 4 is coming. Apparently, Metroid Prime 5 is been in development concurrent with 4, and Prime 5 will be a Switch 2 exclusive coming out in 2027. And I'm inclined to believe this because Nintendo, they seem like they've been holding on to Prime 4 for a while. Like, it seems like it's been one of those games that's done and they're just waiting to have the Switch 2 or whatever to release it, because I noticed a leak a few months ago confirmed that they had finished QA testing the game in January or February of 2023. So it's been like 2 years since it was in QA testing, which is usually towards the end of development. I don't know. I think we could be in for a second Metroid renaissance, the likes of which we haven't seen since Nintendo put out Prime Fusion, Prime 2, Zero Mission, Prime 3, a remake of 2. Like in the early 2000s, they put out 6 games in 5 years for Metroid. So maybe they're going to go all in on Metroid right now. I just hope that one of those things is the re-releases of Prime 2 and 3, which we're still waiting on. Please do those still. I don't like having an incomplete set with just the Metroid Prime remake. And the last thing I'll say about this before I get your guys' thoughts is I thought it was interesting. Just by coincidence, I was watching some old Scott the Woz videos on YouTube this week. And back at E3 2017, right around like when the Switch had been announced and we were like learning what its first year was going to look like, there was a rumor that E3 2017 was going to have a Metroid Prime 4 announcement and a second Metroid game. So I wonder if they've kind of been bundled together this whole time and we just didn't know about it. Your thoughts?
Well, shout out to Scott the
I mean, it's
Waz, and yeah, that guy is way too talented. And if you love the Wii U and you don't follow Scott the Waz, what are you doing in your life? Because he is the Wii U guy. Sean, you go first.
It's really interesting, and it would be funny to find out if they do like hold on to games for a while after they're completed. It'd be cool. I'm with Kevin. You need 2 and 3 to come out. You need those re-releases of those because I don't want to play Prime 1 and then 4 and 5 come out and I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
At least Dread, I had pretty much played everything, even though the gap on those 5 games is huge.
I didn't mention this, but the rumor even had like details about Prime 5, but they were so like generic. I didn't bring it up, but it was stuff about how like there would be gravity mechanics or something. I don't know, but I fully believe this. I believe everything.
I'm always one to think that uh, games are always on the whiteboard. So I think
Hmm.
games are in development for longer
Yeah.
than most of us probably think. And development, I'm using those air quotes because like is development like having a meeting about it? Is development
Mm.
talking about it, or is development actually like at what point is a game in development is what I'm trying to
Yeah,
say.
like, is it like when there's a slow news week and people are like, Nintendo has a new 3D Mario in development. They always have a new 3D Mario in development.
Right, right. Or when like every once in a while I see people online freak out about how like they find out a game or hardware is like if you found out the Switch 2 upgrade is already being planned and developed. If you
Mm.
found out the Switch 2 OLED is coming out in 2027 or 2026, let's say, if that's already in development, are you mad about it?
Oh, yeah.
No, you shouldn't be
No.
because that's just what reality is. I just want to
Mhm.
say, and this is the only part that I wanted to say about this, is that I'm tired. Can we just stop for a moment? Like, like this reminds me of I put it in our
Give
notes
4 its
here.
day. Yeah.
Like I'm a St. Louis guy. I'm a Cardinals fan, and yeah, my St. Louis Cardinals haven't won since 2011. But in 2016, after 108 years, I had a lot of Cubs fans in my life be like, "Oh yeah, this franchise is set up. We're gonna win multiple championships. We're a dynasty." After winning one championship, and I'm like, "That's cool. That's great and everything. Can we focus on the present?" Which is all I want to say
Yeah.
about Metroid Prime 4.
Give
Because
Prime 4 its day before you start saying, what's gonna be in
well,
5,
we,
yeah.
we, we waited 7 years, 8 years for Metroid Prime 4, and you're telling me even before the game comes out, we're gonna be like, what do you think Metroid Prime 5 is gonna be like?
Mm.
Yeah,
I,
it's a little ridiculous. Like,
I just
"Oh,
wanna
I
like, can
get
we
to
just
the
take
title of 4.
a
What's
day?
5? What?"
A week. Just just give me a little bit of time. This would be like if you're waiting for GTA 6 to come out and I came on here and I was like, "How about GTA 7?" Like we I don't want to like let's just one thing at a time here. But yeah,
I need to know
there's
what
no
the
patience.
Switch 3 launch lineup is gonna look like.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Kinda
I made that
ridiculous we
joke
don't know it.
on Twitter. I immediately said that I was like, okay, what? All right, we know what the Switch 2 is going to look like. Now let's move on.
We don't even know that though, because I mean, I didn't put this in the notes, but saw a lot of rumors this week. Part of what that top part of the Switch 2 is they're gonna sell a second screen. So that is yet to be seen, but be interesting.
Yep, I think that's a good chance. Uh,
Mhm.
So, technically, could I deduct time from my life now for games I'm going to play on Switch 2? Or am I getting way too ahead?
I'm actually already planning whenever they announce the release date to take at least a 3-day weekend that week from work and just play my Switch 2. But so kind of what you're talking about is I've already written that time off.
I think that stuff is important. It's better than planning work a year from now.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
so yeah, we're gonna be playing those games.
All right, who's got something else to talk about?
Sean,
That's
what
our
do you
Metroid
have?
news.
So, Watch Mojo just did a recent ranking of the 31 best home consoles,
A weird
and,
number.
Nintendo, yeah, it was a weird number. Nintendo got on there a few times, so number 23 was the Wii U, 16 was GameCube. I thought that would rank higher. I don't
Yeah.
know. Maybe I feel like there's more love for that than it gets in, like, internet videos. Number 10 was the Wii, which
Too high.
I also thought would be too
Too
high?
because the Wii, I don't want to derail us too much, but like I have a lot of thoughts on the Wii's legacy, and really it was a lot of shovelware and not as many. Maybe this is because I have the Switch to look at, but not as many hits as you would think. They had less than 10
Okay.
games that sold over 10 million copies. Not a lot of big selling games on the Wii.
All right. Well, number seven's the N64, which
Mhm.
is higher up than I expected it to be. Number five was Super Nintendo. Number three was the Switch. So
Okay.
I will say number two was the PS2, which made sense. And number one was the original NES because
They always do that stuff when they write those articles. Yeah. The argument can be made that I wouldn't call it the greatest system of all time. I'd put it in the top 3 or 4, but the argument could be made. It saved the video game industry, and there are, for its time, a giant list of classic games. So it
yeah.
established almost every Nintendo franchise, the major ones. So
We know what
And
it
Harrison
is.
one upped me and dug
It
deeper for an older list.
it's a legacy list. We know what it is. I mean, the Wii was very important culturally. Again, like it's the only system where I ever came home from school and my parents were playing it. It's just one of those things. And sold lots and lots of hardware, although it did not sell as much software. That's a bonus episode I'm working on. Oh, and by the way, if you're not following the YouTube, we have some bonus episodes up this week, so hey, go check that out.
yep.
And same with
I'm waiting
NES.
for the documentary about how many televisions died during the Wii.
Mhm. Mhm. We did something on that a long time ago, like, uh, yeah, like Wii injuries,
Mhm.
uh, like things like Wii knee. Anyways, NES, same thing. NES is also legacy. Uh, if I was doing this list based on what I think is most important, I'm going number one Switch, number two PS2. This is unbiased. I'm serious. Number three is probably NES, but it might be number four. Kevin, what do
Mhm.
you think?
Again, with my bias, just listing my 3 favorite system. Am I listing my favorite systems or the most? What was the
Well,
list? The
well,
most
well,
what?
I said unbiased, but I wasn't being serious.
Actual
I
title
honestly
of the list,
think
Sean. Most
So it's the
influential?
ranking best home consoles.
Oh, best. So that is just opinion of which ones I think are the best. Okay, it's not the most influential. So in my opinion, because that's a different list, you know what I mean? Like, so in
Yeah.
my opinion, the best ones would be Switch, Super Nintendo, and probably PlayStation 2 at number 3.
Yeah, I probably would just go with that same order. I mean, I guess you
And
put
that put NES at
64 at
4, which
number
is actually what I said earlier, so that fits.
I'd put N64 at 4 and then NES at 5. But I think again, you had to be there for how big a shift that was between 2D to 3D.
Yeah.
I also want to include that Watch
And then
Mojo
yeah,
does. I don't know what their intentions are, but they clickbait. I know that, and I think they rage bait.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
they've done multiple videos on the best and worst home consoles. Sean, this one was one they did like this week, but they have
yeah,
one from
last week
11
or
years
so.
ago. They've done multiple worst home consoles, and the one from 11 years ago is the original and most popular. This one also caused a stir when it first came out, and you can go back and look at the comments of it because um it has some really bad consoles. I mean, if you're looking at the worst home consoles, chances are it's something that didn't sell like nearly anything at all. For example, the Apple Pippin is number 7 on this list, which is made by Apple and Bandai. Uh, it only
Yeah, that's where
sold
I would shut the video off if I was watching it on YouTube.
yeah, it only sold like 40,000 units. And like there's just a lot of home consoles made in like the 70s and early 80s that you would put on this list that cost $1,000 when it came out that you probably never heard about.
Mhm.
But anyways, what else is on here that I could talk about? Magnavox Odyssey number 10, 3DO at number 6, Atari Jaguar at number 5, CDI at number 2. But the point I'm
A lot
bringing
of
this
D
up,
tier systems in there.
but
Yeah.
Sean and Kevin already know where I'm going with this. Number one, Virtual Boy. Which I think they were like, okay, like this was like a historically like this is a system lots of gamers know about and was historically bad, but it's not worse than I'm gonna say most of the systems on
Yeah.
this list. I'm just
I
gonna
mean, you know I have nostalgia for it, so I'm
Yeah.
biased, but I would rather you know what? This'll be some rage bait for somebody. I would rather play a Virtual Boy than a Sega Saturn. I'll say that. Like, I would put that on the D list of systems.
you see
I
I
mean, it
have no
goes to
idea.
show that no matter the list,
Yeah,
Nintendo's
exactly, you
gonna
don't
get
know,
number
Harrison.
1.
That's my point is, like, there's people online who act like the Sega Saturn is so underrated, but I've never seen a game that made me that justify that console's existence. Like, I loved my Dreamcast, got on board there, but the Saturn, like, Panzer Dragoon, it's alright, like, I don't know. I've never seen anything on
You
there that I'm
can
like, "That's a must play."
Panzer Dragoon's on sale all the time on Switch if you
I
really
have
wanna
it.
play it.
I've heard that that's not, a good version, though, like, the purists, I guess, don't like that one.
Oh, the Saturn one was much better.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and
Uh,
I imagine most people haven't played the majority of these systems because
no.
like there's people that are like, oh, it's like I like the CDI or like, oh, the 3DO wasn't that bad or like I had
You know
a
what's funny? I just realized I think the Virtual Boy and the Saturn were about the same price and debuted the same year. Like, I think they were both 95, and I think they were both about
They
200.
probably were.
No, Saturn was, almost 400 bucks,
Saturn was
never mind.
more.
They were 399, and then PlayStation notoriously said 299, and then both of them dropped their price to 199, to try to compete with each other.
Watch Mojo is lots of fun. We used to watch their countdowns all the time, but it's for clicks.
Absolutely is, 'cause I
Yeah.
watch a lot of the movie ones where they're like, "Oh, the greatest blah blah," in my head I'll go, "Alright, these 8 movies will be in this list just because of what they are."
Well,
They are.
now you can put that clip of me up for some clicks. You can say Virtual Boy versus Sega Saturn or whatever.
I'll
And
go
then
next.
the other stuff I saw,
Good.
Samurai Pizza Cats is getting a game.
Yeah, I saw that and I was bummed out because all the comments were clearly people who had no idea what Samurai Pizza Cats was. Like, and that made me feel old. It was clearly all kids who had never heard of it. In fact, some of the comments were saying like, "I've never heard of this, but it looks cute," or things like that. Like, I'm like, "Oh, youngins."
So, my brother-in-law was all excited, and then I'm like, "Well, it kinda looks like Cuphead," and he was like, "Oh." Might not be the right genre for a lot of people, but I thought it was kinda cool that another obscure thing's getting a game.
Mm. Mhm,
I didn't
mhm.
see that. That's
And
very
I
cool.
just thought it was interesting. On the UK charts, Civ 7 outsold on Switch over PC and Xbox,
I don't even know what
which
that
is
is.
it's a game you normally would play on PC.
Okay.
The fact that it sold more on Switch was interesting to me. And then,
Portability.
Marvel Rivals may come to Switch too, and then I think, like, the day after the people from that company got laid off. So I have no idea what's going on with that now.
I don't know either because that game's not dead. That game is the opposite of dead. That game is
Nothing but
very
that
much alive.
story, yeah, none of it made sense to me. So I was just like, "Okay."
In the articles I read, it said that it's very unlikely that it would be a launch title. But my God, if it comes to Switch 2, that is going to be like a Fortnite level game. But that game is going to be huge. I'll
It
try
will
it
be
out.
big, and I'd try it on Switch,
Yeah, like
that's part of why I haven't bothered.
Yeah, like, I could try it on, like, PC or Steam Deck, but if it was on Switch, I guess I'd try it out because it is a free game, and I've watched lots of
Right.
people play it. It does look fun. I'm not a superhero guy so much, but it is free, does have a lot of things that you can unlock in it. God, that would be an awesome launch title game. Don't think it's gonna happen.
And then, the final bit of news I found was a little disappointing. So Nintendo, as of March 25th, is discontinuing the Gold Points program.
Oh, yeah, that and the
So
vouchers. They're
So
doing
the
the vouchers
voucher
too.
one, the vouchers will not be compatible with Switch 2 releases. So that makes me think maybe a couple
They're
years
canceling
into
it.
the system.
No, they're canceling it too. It's pretty sure.
Oh, I thought it was
The
just
thing is, when I read that, I wasn't as concerned because the voucher program has gone away before, like at
and
the
come
begin.
back.
Yeah, it was there for like the first year of the Switch, and then it was gone for like 3, maybe even more years, and then they brought it back. So I think that's exactly what they're doing here. Is they're going to
Yeah.
introduce the Switch 2. It's going to be gone for like the first, like to really drum up early sales,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
then once it's been an established system, I think they'll bring it back. But the gold
Yeah, I
points,
think
it
that
sounds like they're gone for good.
so Harrison, the gold coins thing, I think that hit you the hardest.
I guess so. I mean, I want the incentives for digital only, but I don't know if I buy digital more than you two guys. My digital is like I have like 5 physical games, so it's over 90%, and I
I
do
just
like you.
checked when this news dropped and I have $32 in gold points,
I
so
do
I'll
like
probably buy one game and be done.
I do like
Yeah,
using
you'll have
that
to get it
gold.
out.
I do like having that incentive that I can say that, if I buy digital, technically it's a little bit cheaper, technically, because I get
Yeah.
a little bit of money in return, and I'm not, and like if I was living in America, the sales tax and everything. But yeah, it's the most non it's the most non-surprising part of the news this week, and it could have been a prediction because just like every generation just like the Switch 3 isn't going to come with Joy-Cons. You have to
Yeah.
buy those separately.
Oh, I remember when systems made the transition from you remember those original few systems came with 2 controllers, and you remember the first time your Nintendo 64 or your PlayStation only came with 1 controller, and, like, that was
Yep.
like a shell shock.
What do
Yep.
you do? You have to buy another
Mhm.
controller so your friends can play, so your sister can play?
Madness.
And it's the same thing.
Packing games.
And it's the same thing we see with, like, Apple products or whatever else,
Yeah.
and again, we already talked about it today, like, uh, I'm making a video on Wii Sports talking about how Wii Sports might have been a big mistake in Nintendo because they didn't sell as much software. I think that might have been because of Wii Sports, um and that, I think, ultimately ended packing games mostly because oh, Kevin, you already told me the Wii U didn't have it, did they?
They had 2 options, so if you bought the
Yeah.
base you could buy the base model for, I think, $200, which sounds cheap now that I think of it, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know. One price point was just the base model, and then for $50 more, you could buy one that had more internal storage. It came with Nintendo Land, and it also
Mm.
had like some sort of eShop discount for you to get a second game. I don't remember if it was a free game or if it was a discount on a game, but it had an eShop. So
I think
you had a
it
base model and
started
one
as
that
a
came with a bundle for $50.
I think it started as a discount, and then the buy one get one free was towards the middle of its life when no one was buying things
Let me go
for it.
check. I'll be right back.
It didn't work. This is a first for the podcast. Kevin has left us. So, Sean, how do you really feel about Kevin? Oh, he's back. Never mind.
Ugh, I could
Oh,
see
he's
it.
got the box.
So I figured I might as well go grab it. All right.
He's got the box.
Let's see what my
Of
Wii
course he
U
does.
box. My Wii U box says so it came with Nintendo Land. That's this right here. And then exclusive offer deluxe digital promotion. It just says deluxe digital promotion. It doesn't tell me what it is. And it had 32 gigs of internal storage. Woo! Compared to 8 on the base model. I don't know what that promotion was, and to be honest, I don't even know if I used it.
Yeah, 8 is
It's
horrible.
gone now.
It was horrible back then.
Yep.
Wow. Uh,
Still got my Wii U box, everybody.
of course,
That's impressive.
All right, let's talk about
Pokemon. It was announced, we're recording this on a Thursday evening in America. It was announced today that Pokemon Presents is on Pokemon Day, which is on February 27th. And this is the least surprising news of the week. Never mind. This did not surprise anyone. It's been anticipated, rumored. We have Pokemon Presents on Pokemon Day, I think quite often. I think we had it last year.
It's
So,
kind of the whole reason to have a Pokemon Day.
Yeah, I thought that was the
right.
only time they did it.
Right. So I know I'll have more predictions than you guys maybe, but I'll go through my predictions and I'll throw some questions over to you. Let's start with a fun one because we are a Switch Online podcast. My prediction, I think since we've had kind of a light year, I want to say with like Game Boy Advance still, even though we have like Wario Land and what we just have?
Thick
Donkey Kong
operations
Land
manual for a system.
and
Sorry.
Kevin, I was
I mean, it's
watching,
only
but
February, Harrison.
I was
So
multitasking. Okay, I'm trying to keep it up for audio and video. Okay, my prediction for NSO, um, perhaps we get Pokemon Pinball, which would be awesome. One of my favorites. We could get, I think we start with the original, but maybe we get both of them. Pokemon Puzzle Challenge. I don't think we would get Pokemon Trading Card Game based on the fact that the mobile game is so popular, but perhaps we could. I don't think
On
we're
Switch
getting.
Online, you mean? Isn't that already there?
Wait, the trading card game?
I
It
thought it
is.
The Game
was.
Boy
I think
one.
it is.
It is. Never mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Fake gamer. Fake gamer. Okay. Anyways, but a puzzle challenge, pinball, those would be good. Do we finally get red and blue on NSO going to Kevin?
So again, I believe everything. And I did see somebody, I didn't write this in the notes, but somebody was rumoring that rumor this week is that we're going to get um Gen 1 and Gen 2. It was confusing the way it was worded. I remember I read it and I was like, I can't tell if they're saying this is coming to Switch Online or if it's coming as like a collection that they're selling. I don't know which, but some announcement with Gen 1 and Gen 2 um being re-released. And then also the other rumor I believed, because I've been seeing this rumor circulate for a while, is a remake of Pokemon Black and White. So I could totally see that happening too.
That's another one. Yeah, Sean, what do you think? I say no for red and blue, but what do you think?
I mean, pinball makes sense because it falls right into their pseudo obscure weird game we can throw on there, but at least it's got Pokemon in it. But red and blue, that's never going to happen. Ever.
I
They're
disagree.
never gonna put it on the service. They might put it as a collection, but there's no way
Okay.
on earth they're gonna put it in the service and be like, there you go.
No, I think they're gonna give it to us in some form. Like you said, maybe not on Switch Online, but there's a lot of casual Pokemon fans out there that would pay. Like every time I see one of those things advertised, that's just like a USB stick that plays games. You know, you get those like junk ads
Yeah.
while you're scrolling through apps. Pokemon is the original red and blue is always one of the ones they feature in that video because there's so many casual, they haven't played a Pokemon game since 1998 fans that
Yeah.
would pay money to have access to that game again. So I honestly think at some point in some form we're going to get access to Pokemon both. I always get the color screwed up. Both because I want to say green, and that was Japan. Both red and blue, and I think gold and silver at some point. And hopefully, it's this announcement. We'll see.
We
It'll
have
be an overpriced collection, is what it will be.
Yeah. We have the Let's Go games and somebody at Nintendo this
But I don't
week.
think those appeal to the people I'm talking about, like the casual people who don't play it at all, like who just want to relive their childhood. You know?
Right,
Yeah.
but the next part I was saying was somebody at Nintendo this week was talking about Virtual Console. and it could just be that.
Oh, I did see that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah.
because I don't know
And
how
then
many
people will complain that
copies.
they can't trade.
I don't know how many copies they sold on the 3DS of when they released it on the virtual console, but that was a huge release when they did it. And they kept all of the original. They kept it very original, and so they did not have to, do so much extra work to it. Okay,
Mhm.
the focus around this Pokemon Presents is going to be Legend ZA, no doubt. We're focusing on Pokemon games for this year, and we're going to be focusing on games for current gen. It comes out this year. We don't know when it comes out. My prediction is we get an actual release day on February 27th.
Mhm.
We're getting a Switch 2 uh, presentation in April. Uh, Pokemon ZA, I think, will come out September, then later, like December. I don't really know. But I
Oh,
think
I was gonna meet you right in the middle. My prediction was November, just like, Scarlet and Violet did.
so. Sending it to you, Kevin, do we a release date or do we get a release window?
I think we'll get a date. Um, I don't think they're gonna say, like, 4th quarter or whatever. I think they really want to, like, especially since the Switch, if it's true that this is just a Switch and not a Switch 2 game, is so at the end of its life, there's not really any reason to hide the release date. So I think it'll be mid-November, just like Scarlet and Violet were, and they'll announce it that way.
Sean?
I don't know much about ZA. Is it just the next release
It's the next
or is
release.
it
It's the next release. It's not Generation 10, which we'll get
okay.
to, but it's the next Legends game, so it's gonna be similar to Legends
So
Arceus, and it's gonna take
okay.
place in the Gen 5 region, right?
It looks like it might all be in one city. I've seen
Right.
people
Yes, it's gonna be all in one city,
rumoring
and
that.
it's gonna be the Gen 5. It's the XY, because it's XYZ. No, XY is Gen 6.
Okay.
Sorry. Um, right? Anyways, yeah, it's Gen 6. Uh, but release date or release window is just a fun prediction.
I think it's gonna have the holiday 2025 window.
Yeah, have a window? Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if they're gonna give a date just because it's Nintendo and they're weird about stuff. I agree there's no reason for them not to, but alright,
Nick,
so if it's in the Legends, curious because Arceus I keep debating giving a shot. I wish it had a demo.
I
Yeah,
plan on doing it.
yes, Arceus is great. If there was one game, if you're gonna play one Pokemon game on Switch, play that one for sure.
Okay.
And ZA, well, it might be ZA, but ZA is gonna be current gen. Speaking of which, this next one is a fun one. Since it's a current gen Switch 1 game, do we get a current gen Switch bundle with Pokemon Legends ZA trying to push out those numbers? After all, if,
Oh,
if Switch wants to take over PS2, there is one franchise that could really do it. Yes.
while we're on the subject of that, that was another news story from this week is they had a, bundle with Mario Wonder, trying to move those old units out. It's an OLED, with the standard red and blue controllers, basically a standard looking OLED, nothing special about it, but it comes bundled with Mario Wonder. They announced that.
They're gonna do a Pokemon one, and it's gonna be all fancy looking. They absolutely will do that. It's
Uh, I have the 3DS that they made, with the, what game was that? It might have been Black and White when it came out, and it broke, and I'm so bummed out because it's a gorgeous looking 3DS. I haven't seen any Switch custom Switches that look really that good to me.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
The, the,
It's hard
the
to
best
say.
the best Switch Lite is a Pokemon Switch Lite.
Mhm.
The black one. So that's another thing I thought about. Like, what if they gave us more units of the Switch Lite finally with this game? Because perhaps they have
Yeah.
Switch Lights sitting in the back and they can just throw some stickers on there.
I'll go with an OLED bundle just because maybe this Wonder thing is starting a trend of them trying to get rid of that inventory. So I'll say an OLED bundle, but with like I'm gonna just copy this announcement from this week. It's just gonna be the standard OLED, nothing special about it. It's got the red and blue controllers, and it'll come bundled with this Pokemon game.
I like it.
So the only special looking Switch I would have maybe have gotten was the Monster Hunter one, but
My favorite was
I
the
had such
Mario.
high hopes for that Tears of the Kingdom one, and then it
Yeah,
I'm sorry
yeah,
if you loved it, but to me that thing looks so ugly. I was like, "Oh, that was gonna be my chance to buy an OLED," and then I didn't. I was like, "Oh," I was so bummed.
I like the Mario one, but it's pretty
Mhm.
basic. It just because it's the only because we didn't get any colors or anything, so it's
It
like,
really looked like
yeah.
the Wii Mini. Did you ever see that thing? That's what the
Oh
Mario one
yeah,
looked like to me.
uh,
yep.
so
Yeah, I
this
don't know. I guess Pokemon's the only thing they've really successfully made a console version of for collectors or whatever. The
ZA
category.
is gonna be current gen. So in the
Yep.
Pokemon Presents, I'm wondering what footage they show us. Do they show
We'll
us the current
finally get some actual footage of ZA that isn't well, you've had it on the side of the screen now. Oh, that way. Um,
cinematic?
line vectors. Yeah, you know what I mean? It
Yeah,
won't just be like vector graphics that look like a Virtual Boy game. It'll be actual because I mean, we
gameplay.
know they have it because of that leak where almost a full playable version of the game leaked. So that we know it's ready to show.
I think they're gonna
See,
show us
that's
game.
part of why I had to ask what it was because of the trailer.
Uh,
Yeah,
yeah, they
'Cause I
haven't
was
given
like,
us a clear look yet.
yeah.
so
I think they're going to show us and be very deliberate that they're showing us current gen Switch One gameplay. They're gonna tell
Mhm.
us it's the Switch One gameplay because I think they're gonna do everything they can to make sure that this is very deliberate, that we're only doing current gen stuff right now. And another prediction that I'll jump ahead to is that we're not getting any Gen 10 stuff. And I say they're going to act like it doesn't even exist. Basically, what Nintendo will do. That's my prediction is that Gen 10 is for Switch 2, Generation 10 is for next year. And we're not going to talk about it at all because we want you buying these games this year. Um,
Yeah, and
so
I
do
know we
you
said it in a previous
yeah,
episode, but they did the exact same thing when the 3DS came out. Is everyone thought I think it was black and white. Everyone thought
yeah.
that was going to be a 3DS game and it just released for regular DS. So,
Do you think ZA will finally build on Arceus and kinda be in a better state at launch than Scarlet and Violet?
well, I would think so because Arceus was in a better state than Scarlet and Violet. It had plenty of issues, but most of the issues came with more of that. It was just a new game, and I think some of the gameplay was uneven or slow, or maybe there was too much dialogue, or there was only, for example, in Arceus, there's only one main area, which to me was like it's the first game, and it was very ambitious, and it was a very, very fun game. But I think Legend ZA is just gonna be more expansive on having more of a main area, and it's not a main area and then you fast travel to a place to catch Pokemon. I'm hoping that it's more like you can travel in and out of that world. So, yeah, will there be issues at launch? I don't
yeah,
I
I
hope
also
there's
remember hearing that Scarlet and Violet, a lot of their problems was due to them not having a big enough development team for a game of that scale. So, I don't know. Hopefully it does look like this is a little scaled back. Again, we haven't seen much except for that trailer, but if it really is all confined to one city, and if it does use the way Arceus did and not try to be one big world, but has loading screens in between areas, that should help.
we'll see
Okay.
because there's reason to think positively about Pokemon, even though I bring so much negativity. Uh, they did skip years releasing generations finally, and they have taken time on the Legends games, and they seem like they're more comfortable with taking time on games that are not connected to the generations, to the anime, to the trading cards, to everything else. So there's reasons to have optimism that they're just taking more time to do all of those things. I'll jump ahead. Um,
Well, I had one more thing to
yeah,
say about it. My just final thought on it is if it is a game that takes place completely within a city, those buildings better feel way more alive than they have in a lot of the Pokemon games we've
yeah,
gotten so far, where like you can't even go inside half the buildings. It's just you kind of it's almost like you talk the building to get the store to work or something. No more of that.
yeah. In Scarlet and Violet, you can clip into a lot of the buildings that are not usable, and you can see that some of the
Hmm.
buildings clearly had a development in them. You can see it's a lot of other N64 games, same thing, right? But you can like
Hmm.
stand next to the building and switch the camera and see that there's things inside of some of the buildings where they had ideas, I guess, and then we're like, yeah,
Yeah.
we're not doing that. Uh, definitely. I think we will get starters for ZA. I have no predictions on what those are. I
Okay.
think we'll get mega evolutions for ZA or whatever they call the mega evolutions. No predictions there. 2025
Terrestrializing again.
2025 though is year of the Eevee. I don't know. I don't think there's any reason why. I think Pokemon just decided this year we're celebrating Eevee. So
Okay.
perhaps ZA does something special with Eevee, and I think XY was Sylveon. Yeah, it was Sylveon. So maybe we get Mega Evolutions there. They'll give us a lot of mobile. I think they'll do, like, a whole, like, montage, which will be the most boring part, people won't care about, but for mobile, we have, updates in the trading card game Pocket, we'll have updates in
Yep.
Pokemon Unite, Pokemon Go, but then we also have Cafe Remix, Pokemon Sleep, Masters EX, um, and I wrote down, like, there's, like, the Pokemon, teeth brushing app, there's so many of them now. And perhaps we get a EV mini game app as well that they drop. I mentioned there won't be any Generation 10. They'll say that for Switch 2. I'm gonna say we don't get the black and white remake yet. It's coming eventually. That's the next one after Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl. But I think that's gonna be for the next generation. That's just my prediction. And I don't know if it's gonna be the same style as Generation 4. I know a lot of people are worried about that. Last one, I think we're missing something. I think because I'm thinking like ZA mobile games, there has to be something else. There has to be like a one extra, one more thing. Um, could the extra game be a re-release of Pokemon Coliseum or Pokemon XD, which are both on GameCube? We're kind of getting into uh the re-releases of GameCube, DS, maybe into the Wii in the next generation. Battle Revolution for Wii wasn't that great. Do you think that would be possible? That's my last prediction for today.
It certainly would fit in with a lot of the things they announce, where it's like I think only hardcore Pokemon fans would be interested in it. So yeah, I think that's possible.
I don't see why they wouldn't do that, especially because they've had so much success with the GameCube remasters, whatever you want to call them.
So that's it. February
It is
27th. It's
odd.
gonna be super early in the morning if you're over in America. And
Okay.
yeah, I think no Switch 2. It's just gonna be all current gen, Switch 1. Super excited. This might be my most anticipated game of the year, depending on how this year goes. But it's gonna change. I bet
Yeah, because
we're gonna get a new
think
Zelda or something.
just think of how much of 2024 was announced only like a month or two before the game came out. You know what I mean? Who knows what we have in store for 2025 at this
No.
point? We know almost nothing. So. All right, moving on to our spotlight. So this week we are shining a spotlight on the Game Boy Advance. I guess you could call it classic. Call it
Oh, classic, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
Kuru Kururin. It is a puzzle video game developed by 18. That's the name of the company, and published by Nintendo for Game Boy Advance. It was released in Japan on March 21st, 2001, and in Europe and Australia, June 22nd, as a launch title for the Game Boy Advance. It never was released in North America, even though I definitely, like I said last week, have distinct memories of Nintendo Power hyping this thing up. And I think that might have just been their coverage of Space World 2001. Maybe it was really featured there. I don't know. Like maybe they hadn't decided to not release it in North America yet. Anyway, it was released in North America on the Wii U's Virtual Console service in 2016, and then now we have it on Switch Online. So we got it there. I think it's worth explaining how this game works because this is one that I could feel a lot of listeners are probably not familiar with, especially not getting a North American release. So you're a stick. You got this stick that's constantly rotating, like it doesn't stop turning, and you have to navigate that through a course without hitting the walls. You hit the walls 3 times, you're done. And throughout the course are ways to change the direction the stick rotates and various other. I don't even know if you could call it'd be generous to call them power-ups, but various other helping
Yeah.
mechanisms.
Propeller.
um yeah. So you try to get the rotating stick from the start to the finish line, and you can only hit the wall 3 times. And throughout the course is sometimes an area where it will refill the number of times you can hit the wall, which helps. And it's mainly for people who like to time attack things. It is definitely set up for people trying to get the best high score, trying to get the fastest time through the course. It's one of those type of games.
Y-
Yeah, it's stressful. Oh my god.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
I I thought I had played like it started it up when they put it on initially, but I guess I didn't because in my head for some reason the controls were you just hit the shoulder buttons to move the propellers, not that they were constantly moving. So when I actually started playing, I went, "Oh,
Yeah.
I'm mixing this up with something that doesn't exist, I guess." Because this is oh my god, this is stress inducing with just navigating this helicopter basically.
Yeah.
That is it a bird? Is that what you're supposed to be?
He looked
Okay.
like a little penguin
Is
thing.
it
It's got a very in well, it also kinda looks like a duck. I don't know. It's got a very in-depth story for what the gameplay is.
It
yeah,
does.
yeah, you're, like, rescuing other birds, I don't know. Well, yeah, I just it was really stressful.
It's it's very
R
stressful.
I got 6 levels in, and I was like, "I can't do this anymore.
Really?
I'm gonna have
I
a heart
finished it.
attack."
It's not that long.
Well, kudos to you because, especially because I kinda enjoy difficult games, but, oh my no. No, no, no. I couldn't do it.
I understand. It's like deceivingly difficult. Like even if you're just watching it right now, it's just very it is a very difficult game. I love the simplicity of it. Like yeah, if you were to like put it
Mm,
again, if you were to put it in words like what it is, it's like you're moving a propeller, it goes one direction or another direction, depending on if you hit a spring or a power up. You can't hit the walls. Um and it's such like a kind of a simple idea. I understand why it has a strong following, maybe not the biggest following, but I'm sure the people who enjoy it really like it. It's too bad that the GameCube version, what was it called? Korean squash? What was it called? Yes, yes, Korean squash is what it's called on GameCube. It's a 3D version, and I thought it looked similar to Super Monkey Ball, but it was a Japanese release only. But it looked like it could have been like a pretty fun game. this might be a game, and even if you're just watching it now while we're
This might
talking,
be a game.
it might be
In
one of the
theory,
games,
yeah.
is what I'm trying to say. But what I'm really trying to say is, it might be more fun to, like, watch people play it because, like, when I
Mhm.
was doing the footage for this episode, I found it, like I was, like, watching it, and it almost felt like I was watching, like the DVD screensaver, like,
Yeah, it's
that.
very visually appealing. It's almost like something you'd see at the top of, like, a slot machine or something,
Yeah, like
that draws you in.
it's very like, if you watch someone who, like, plays it well, it's very satisfying. But, yeah, it's,
Mhm.
like, something that I got stuck kind of, like, zoning out and just sort of watching. So,
It
it's
it
kind of
has the Vampire Survivors effect to it when things are just going and everyone's firing on all cylinders and nothing's going
Vampire
wrong.
Survivors is also like a
Yeah.
slot machine. That's also
Well,
like a
Yeah.
big casino. Uh,
it's also like, in theory, none of these levels are long. So it's like, the part that takes a long time is you keep exploding and you have to keep starting over. But like to finish a level takes about a minute if you can finish it. So it's one of those games where you can if you're good, you could probably finish this game in an hour, start to finish.
I mean, playing it, I was kinda surprised there was no WiiWare sequel or something of it.
Mhm.
It just seemed like one of those games that they're like, "You know what? We
Or
never
even a
released this in
knockoff
America."
series.
where
Something
is
like
it?
that, yeah, where
There is?
No, I'm
Oh,
saying is where is the Wii game where is the Wii Kerwin Wii game with optional motion controls? Like, I don't know what you
yeah,
would do. Like, I
yeah,
don't
I
know
don't
if
know,
you would,
it's
like,
yeah, tilt the controller through.
tilt
Yeah, I could
them
see it.
each one direction or
yeah.
another direction, or you hold them together. But where's the optional motion control Wii game of this game? Or at least, like, make it
Kirby tilt
a
and tumble style.
yeah,
Yeah.
make it like a I'm gonna say Kirby, but that's too much. Make it like a Kirby game and just make it Kurowin. Why not?
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah, you're not gonna
it's
be seeing these guys in Smash Brothers anytime soon, though.
You do though.
I'm
Oh, you
I'm a
do?
little
You
s
in Brawl, it's a is
Oh,
it's an
that's
assist?
right.
the main
No,
character
you're
is a
right.
trophy in Brawl, which is
You're
super
right, you're
cool.
right.
Okay.
Smash Brothers is like the one IP where they really go deep in their Nintendo history. I think that's super cool. They need to do that with more series.
There should be
Anyways,
a level where you fight on the wing of the thing and, like, you see the background rotating.
Or if they had done, Kuru Kururin 99, they could have made
Oh,
one of these.
yeah.
yeah.
Imagine
I think
well,
that
I don't know
it would've worked.
if you could have a lot of people bumping into you, but, like, you could race, you could time trial or something, or
Oh, yeah,
like,
you
maybe
could do
split
it
yeah, like
like Tetris.
Tetris. Yeah, yeah, you're right. Okay, I was thinking more of the F-Zero, but yeah, you're
Sure.
right.
You mentioned it already. This would be a great roguelite. Like
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
if you could collect like power ups along the way, like perhaps it's procedurally generated and you just are constantly going through it and you get power ups
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
make your rotations easier or more fluid.
Now you're talking my language.
You make yourself
So that reminds me of the
smaller.
old endless runner apps I used to get addicted to.
Yeah. Yeah. They could easily make something that is procedurally generated where you're going through it. I'm thinking kind of like Flappy Bird almost, where you're just going through
Mhm.
it and you can have power-ups, you can make the gaps bigger, you can make yourself smaller, you can give yourself more control over all of these things that you can do. Um there's a lot you could do with this game. It ranks in the middle for me, uh,
Mhm.
but I think it's great. I gotta say, I think this is a great game.
Yeah, I'd like to
I'm
see
a bit
Nintendo
surprised.
try to launch more original series like this. Like It's
Yeah.
put out more stuff like this. Like I feel like if this were released today, like we all said, it would have been a Kirby game. Like try make things their own thing more often.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like with a lot of Nintendo series, they're leaving a lot of meat on the bones, and I think this is one of them. I think there should be more of these games, and while it's not totally for me, I think it's awesome. I really do. So
Mhm.
for me, it is number 59. And 59
Oh,
Okay.
that's
is really good still. I'd recommend this. Well, actually, I'll let you go, Kevin. Where do you rank it? Where do you recommend it?
that's really close. I put it at 55. So for me, that's right below Kirby's Dreamland 3. And I rank this better than Scat on the NES, the special cybernetic attack team. Um, so that's the neighborhood we're living in.
See, I kind of want a Kurin Pikmin crossover game now. I don't know
Yeah.
what that would be, but I feel like they would go together well.
Yeah, put the
No,
pick. Yeah, put a
it's a very
Pikmin on the
similar
propeller.
vibe.
Everybody
So
get
Where'd you
I
on.
rank it,
ranked
Sean?
it. I ranked it at 61, so pretty close to you guys. So in between Super Ghouls and Ghosts and Panel de Pawn,
Yeah,
just
Okay.
another one of
that's a
the
good one to
puzzle
put
games. But
next to.
I enjoyed it, even though I didn't play much of it, and it just goes to show the ingenuity and creativity of Nintendo and how they can just take this simple concept of, well, it's a stick in a maze. Well, that doesn't
Yeah.
sound interesting at all. Oh, it is. And
Yeah, and
so I
you're addicted to it because, like I said, like the you're like, well, the level's only a minute long. Like I'm gonna get through this level, and then you do that 15 times, and you're halfway through the game.
and I give them credit for there being a timer, but it's just more for record keeping.
Hmm.
It's not counting down where it's like, oh, the level's timed on
Yeah.
top of that, so good luck.
Good point. Good
So,
point.
but no, I say check it out. It's really worth checking out. But I mean, again, it it is not easy. So
Okay, let's find out what we are going to be playing next week in Shining a Spotlight on. Speaking of Metroid, we are doing it's one game, but it's also two games. We're going to be doing the original Metroid on NES, and I thought it would be appropriate to pair that with its remake on the Game Boy Advance, Zero Mission. So, Metroid and
okay,
Metroid Zero Mission, which is a remake of Metroid. So we can compare the two.
so maybe I'll actually get through the original now through Zero Mission.
From what I've not yet played Zero Mission. I beat the NES version. I have not played Zero Mission yet, and from what I understand, it makes it a little more clear where you're supposed to go. It
Okay,
doesn't rely on you having to use Nintendo power to get through it like the original does. So that'll be nice.
alrighty.
Um, so yeah, I very much look forward to that. Join us next week. If you've got any thoughts on Metroid, let us know. Also, if you've got any thoughts on Kuru Kerwin, or you know what, leave a comment down below. Let us know what your favorite Nintendo franchise like Kuru Kuru Kururin that nobody ever talks about is. What's your favorite Nintendo hidden gem? Comment that down below. As always, if you'd like to play along with the Spotlight game, send us your thoughts, email us, do whatever you got to do. We'll read it on the podcast if it's clean. Nobody ever emails us, but we do have an email, nintendotherapypod@gmail.com. You can also leave a comment down below and follow us on Blue Sky at Nintendo Therapy and all around. Like Harrison said, we got the link tree right there. So just keep in mind we're Nintendo fans, not Nintendo experts. We get things wrong. We'll see you next week for more Nintendo Therapy.